Hello, East Texas. I'm Jesus Martinez. Welcome to this Unsolved East Texas special presentation on CBS19+. All year long, we've been diving deep into the unsolved stories that have friends and families worried on what could have happened to their loved one, from disappearances to eerie crimes with no answers. First, we take a look at a case that has gone unanswered for more than 3 decades. Megan Garner was just 3 years old when she vanished from a Tyler apartment complex in March of 1991. CBS19's Robert De La Garza spoke with investigators who say this case has become a deeply personal mission to find answers.
The names may have changed at this East Texas apartment complex over the past 3 decades, but one thing has remained the same: the questions that revolve around the disappearance of then 3-year-old Megan Garner on that spring day in 1991.
This is the kind of case that's just a parent's nightmare.
Exactly 34 years ago, investigators say Megan was last seen playing with her siblings at the playground of what was then the Casa Grande Apartments, now known as the Ranch on 4400 Biloxi Drive.
And it wasn't unusual for kids to be on the playground, playing with their siblings and other friends without having everybody's parents hovering right over them.
Detective James Holt took over the case in 2016, picking up where others had left off, and spent nearly a decade tirelessly chasing leads.
To have this happen wasn't normal, especially not to be seen, not to have any kind of witness or any information about.
Despite years of investigations, including DNA testing and reviews by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, there have been no significant breakthroughs.
There was never any witnesses to actually saw Megan be abducted or disappear or wander off, whatever happened. There were people of interest that were interviewed that might have had an involvement, but those were pretty much all ruled out.
One of the biggest challenges, the limitations of forensic technology at the time. Decades later, investigators are still working with the same evidence, hoping that advancements will one day bring new leads.
There's no way you can predict what tools you'll have in the future. So they have no idea of what they could preserve and save and what they could do for a case that's still being looked at 30 years ahead. You just can't predict that. So that's always a battle with any kind of cold case.
Every few years, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children releases an age progression image of Megan. The most recent, being from 2022, shows what she might look like at 34. Today, she would be 37 years old.
Yeah, I think it's so important to report anything that anyone might remember or might have seen, or if someone has seen someone that looks like her age progression, because all we want at this point is to know where Megan is.
In a previous interview with CBS19, Megan's mother, Melanie Jackson, shared that despite the years of silence, she holds on to hope that one day she will learn what happened to her daughter.
You know that I love her, and I'm still looking.
Detective Holt transitioned to the digital forensic unit in 2022, passing Megan's case to another investigator. He described the emotional toll of working cold cases like this one, and the unwavering dedication of those who continue to search.
Anybody who's worked in my position with these types of cases, you have these cases that you inherit from your predecessors and you work with, and some of them, they do become a little special. They're ones you take special interest in, and I think everybody that's ever had the Megan Garner cases had that special interest.
Years after he stepped back and decades since Megan was last seen, detectives are still left with no clear explanation for her disappearance or her current whereabouts.
With the time that has gone by, do we think that she's still alive even?
There's no way of knowing. And until we have some evidence one way or the other, we're still going to go like it's a missing person and keep looking.
Yet they still hold on to hope, waiting for the next lead that could one day provide the answers Megan's family has desperately been seeking.
We really want closure for Megan's mom. And if anybody knows anything, please tell us.
Reporting in Tyler, Robert De La Garza, CBS 19.
Well, staying in Tyler, it's been well over 365 days, so over a year since 29-year-old Harley Morris has been missing. Now with no new leads, the family is continuing to desperately search for answers. Here's Ayana Aird.
It's been exactly 1 year since Harley Morris vanished without a trace. Surveillance video shows the 29-year-old leaving what was once the 50 Grand Club on North Grand Avenue around 3 a.m. But what happened next is a mystery.
He said that he was coming home and that he was going to meet some people at the house to play pool. And if he didn't get there, that he was getting a ride, but if he didn't get there, just tell him to wait, that he was on his way.
But Harley never made it home. His friends claimed their car was full and couldn't give him a ride.
If he realized he didn't have a ride, he probably thought, I'll just walk home, it's only a few blocks.
Harley's mother, Wendy, is desperately seeking answers, even moving from Florida to East Texas to find out what happened to her son. The last sighting of Harley was near 2100 North Grand Avenue. He disappeared into the night and hasn't been seen or heard from since.
Missing person cases, they stay open indefinitely until the person's found. Of course, he's still entered into TCIC, NCIC, which is Texas Crime Information, National Crime Information. So if any police officer stops him or anybody in law enforcement stops him, they'll contact us and let us know they've got him. His DNA is out there, so we have that as well.
As the search continues and time passes, the ache of uncertainty only grows stronger.
As a mother, you're trying to grasp the fact that your son is gone. And there's really no leads finding him.
Tyler Police spokesperson Andy Erbaugh says there has not been any new leads since Harley's disappearance.
We had done a lot of searching in the wooded areas around there right after he went missing.
Family and community members in Tyler have also held multiple search parties to keep his name out there in hopes of finding Harley. While searching for answers, Harley's mom is holding on to hope that her son will be found.
He was very outgoing. He loved to talk about things with people. He was very handsome, funny. It was really funny. We were buddies. He was like my little mini-me. This is when he was a baby.
And Wendy hopes to one day hold her baby soon. Until then, she wants the public to come forward with any information on Harley's whereabouts.
I want to find my son. That's what I want. I know the likelihood of him being alive is not high, but I still dream of that every day and hope and pray that if he's out there that we'll find him.
In Tyler, I'm Ayana Aird, CBS19.
Well, another story we've been looking into is that of Brady Booth from Brownsboro. CBS 19's Robert De La Garza spoke with officials and the family of Brady who are asking for your help to bring him back home.
I never really thought that it would happen to my family. Ultimately, him being missing and us really not knowing anything.
It's been tough. That's what Caleb Booth and other family members have said since Brady Booth went missing on October 3rd. Police records show that Brady's mom, Christy Lavasser, had not seen or heard from her son in over 2 weeks before reporting him missing, which his family says is out of character.
It doesn't make really much sense for him to just not be here. It's just not like him.
Brady has mental health conditions, including schizophrenia, and was off his medications. His absence is unusual, and there are concerns for his health and safety. And according to his family and police, he's self-medicated and became a frequent drug user. Despite Brady falling into episodes, Caleb says he was a family man and never went without speaking to them for this long. Police records show that Brady was staying with his girlfriend from September 1st to around the 9th. Then Brownsboro police made contact with him at the Shell on the corner of Highway 31 and FM 314 on September 13th. Brady was last seen at this Dollar General in Brownsboro, Texas, making a purchase.
They're checking everything out, Now, I can tell you this, he's not in this city. We patrol the city every day. And my officers know who he is because Every officer here has made contact with him.
Police Chief Ivan Medina says he personally last saw Brady at this Cefco gas station in September, walking along the street. Something his family and friends say he did a lot, since he didn't have a car and roamed from place to place. Now, Brownsboro Police is working alongside the Henderson Sheriff's Office and has chased down every lead they received. But so far, each one has led to a dead end.
Every lead that we had, we could not, there was nothing there.
Medina assures the family and community they will do their part in continuing to look for Brady no matter what it takes.
The case will always be open. It's an open case. Until that person is found, that case is always open.
Both Medina and Caleb are now calling on East Texas to give them any leads at this point in hopes of one day finding Brady.
You know, if you just see him, please give us a call. You know, we're hoping that he is okay, and maybe he was just tired of this life down here and he wanted to move away and be okay and do his thing somewhere else. But, you know, really just anything helps.
Now, the family is remembering Brady as a selfless person who was full of joy.
Me and him weren't even really brothers. We were best friends. He was just that cool dude that, you know, he'd do anything for anybody, regardless what he was going through. And he got dealt a terrible hand in life.
Reporting in Brownsboro, Robert De La Garza, CBS 19.
Well, this next case is one that shook East Texas 33 years ago. The disappearance of Kelly Wilson, and all these years later, so many are still baffled. I spoke with Kelly's dad as he reflects on the impact her disappearance has left on him, as well as a podcaster who took it upon himself to find out what really could have happened to Kelly Wilson. Besides a flagpole on the square blowing on a brisk winter day, Gilmer is a quiet town.
Gilmer Buckeye football team.
Except during football season. But back in 1992, the case of a missing teen turned the town upside down, with clashing investigations, conspiracy theories, all surrounding the disappearance of Kelly Wilson.
Yeah, so Kelly was a 17-year-old senior at Gilmer High School. She had a part-time job at the movie rental shop on the courthouse square.
Wes Ferguson is the creator of the podcast Devil Town, where he goes in depth on what could have happened to Kelly Wilson 33 years ago.
But then they realized pretty quickly within a few days that this was something far more serious.
33 years ago, Kelly Wilson walked out of this building behind me, what used to be a video store at the time, now turned into an office space, and this is one of the last places anyone saw her.
She left work on a Sunday night, January 5th, 1992, said goodbye to the store manager, Joe Henry, and was just never seen again.
Kelly was going to make a deposit from the store at a nearby bank. That same night, grainy surveillance video shows someone depositing cash, although investigators aren't sure if that was Kelly. The last person to have ever seen her was Joe Henry, the video store manager.
He said that they had, she was cleaning up the store, settling up the accounts, and then they went out the back door and he said, "See ya," and that was the last time he saw her.
In a 2018 interview with CBS19, Henry said he got a call from Kelly's mother that next morning.
And asked if she had said about going somewhere the night before. Well, she was supposed to go to a friend's house.
Apparently, Kelly's mom had called down and talked to my wife and told her that Kelly had not come home the night before. And she was trying to get a hold of me at work, and so that's how I found out.
Robbie Wilson, Kelly's dad, lived in Louisiana at the time of Kelly's disappearance. Kelly had moved to Gilmer with her mom before that. Can you share a little bit more about who Kelly is or how she was as a kid, growing up as a teenager as well?
Yeah, Kelly was a typical young lady back in that time. She was full of life, very, very energetic.
He thought Kelly was on his way to move to Louisiana with him.
Because that was the plan anyway. At least that's what she had told me.
To this day, not knowing where his daughter is agonizing. How frustrating is that, knowing that there's no evidence, no clue as to where she could have gone?
It's hard to describe. That's what I live with. The lack of closure, not knowing.
And it's that unknown that brought turmoil to this Upshur County town 3 decades ago. Talk about a little bit some of those twists and turns. I know there were talks of cannibalism, devil worship, family of murderers, and so forth.
The investigators of that other case were convinced that there was a family of devil worshippers living outside of Gilmer on Cherokee Trace, and that they were kidnapping, cannibalizing babies and young girls and sacrificing them to the devil out in the woods behind their house.
This investigation was going on at the same time the search for Kelly Wilson was happening, two different cases that overlapped.
You know, it was really about these two rival investigations and then just completely disagreeing in the direction of those investigations. Both Sergeant Brown and the other investigators have said that they were both saying, you know, if you don't stay out of my case, I'm going to destroy you.
Gilmer Police Sergeant James Brown was the lead investigator in Kelly Wilson's case. 2 years later, he and 7 others were indicted by a grand jury for Kelly's murder. They say it happened during satanic rituals. However, the lack of evidence would force the Attorney General's office to dismiss all murder charges against Brown and the others. We were able to reach Sergeant Brown, but he declined to interview with us.
I think it did a lot to distract the police and the authorities from, you know, what actually might have happened to Kelly.
Do you still hope that you'll be able to see Kelly in person down the road?
I do, yeah.
For you, what does closure mean?
Just somehow knowing what happened to her, and I will eventually. You know, I'll meet my America one of these days, and I'll hope to see her again. So
it's time for someone to come forward and say what they know. And if anybody's been sitting on a guilty conscience for 3 decades, it's time for that person to come through and get that off their chest.
Well, to this day, law enforcement say they have no new leads all these years later. And streaming right now on CBS19+, you can watch the full interviews with Wes Ferguson and Robbie Wilson, Kelly's dad. I'll share more on this case, including someone Kelly was dating who police saw as a person of interest. Our last story is of Marcus Rodriguez. He was last seen on December 23rd, 2021 at an apartment complex off Old Jacksonville Highway in Tyler. 3 years later, family and investigators are still looking for leads to bring Marcus home. Here's Robert De La Garza.
Monday marks the beginning of a new work week. But for one East Texas family, it's a day of spreading awareness to find their son. 21-year-old Marcus Rodriguez was last seen after leaving a party at this apartment complex on December 23rd, over 3 years ago. Marcus's family says he worked that morning, went to Fuzzy's on Troop Highway, and later went to a party with friends. Throughout the night, Marcus's dad, Sergio Rodriguez, was in constant contact with him.
And I said, hey, are you okay? If you need anything, let me know. I love you. He texted back within 2 minutes, said that I love you more. And that was the last text.
But Marcus never made it home. Sergio says police found his car at the same complex with his keys inside the apartment and his phone near a dumpster outside.
But there's somebody out there that was at that party that does know something.
The family is growing frustrated as they fear investigators and the community have forgotten about his case. Sergio adds they are doing what they can to keep his name and face out in the community.
It's been either a year or close to it that we haven't heard anything, and like I say, it's like it's day one, just because nothing has come up out of the investigation.
The family says 3 years of not seeing or hearing from his son is unusual behavior, which is why they are seeking answers.
If you get something that is productive toward finding the person, that's when you contact the family.
During a one-on-one interview with Tyler Police spokesperson Andy Erbal tells CBS19 they have no new leads or information.
And we haven't not dusted our hands off. We have not laid the case down. It is still being actively worked, and we will do our best to find him.
Erbal says detectives are doing whatever they can to find new leads and further their investigation.
And we're making every effort to follow up every lead that comes in an effort to try to drum up or try to find some evidence that will lead us to Marcus.
Now, Marcus's family has started a Facebook group, an initiative called Marcus Mondays, in hopes of spreading more awareness and getting the community involved in finding their son.
Not being able to give him an answer or give them an answer as to where his dad is at is heartbreaking for us as grandparents.
Now, as leads have seemed to run dry, loved ones are hoping their cries for justice will one day bring them closure.
We're not going to give up, and we hope you're out there. We love you, and it's tough, but just know that we're not giving up.
Reporting in Smith County, Robert De La Garza,
CBS 19.
Well, if you know of an unsolved case from East Texas that deserves attention, we want to hear from you. Send your story ideas to news@cbs19.tv and help bring light to the cases that need answers. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your time and interest in these important stories. Stay tuned for more updates on these and keep an eye out for the next Unsolved East Texas right here on CBS 19.